Hello artists, artists, and art appreciators. Welcome to a video about my toys from my childhood. These are my Littlest pet shop from when I was a kid. They're nearly 20 years old at this point. All of my Littlest pet shop are like the earliest releases. Basically, when they were released onto the market, I was like 7 or 8, and I was really obsessed with them. So I had a whole bunch. Now, I haven't had these ones in a while. I actually picked them up for my mother's because I gave them to my little sister when I went to college. So she painted on them, not me. I didn't paint on them. Because of that, they're looking a little worse for wear. I decided I would fix some of them up and customize them, give them some new life, at least the ones that are like super kind of ugly, and then I can, display them along with all my other art figures. So let's get into it. We're going to do the poodle and the ladybug today. So let's check out the damage on these right now. It looks like this might have been nail polish that was put all over the face, which you can remove. I'm going to have to remove the rest of the paint. I wanted to make this a different type of beetle, but the spots are like sculpted, so it's got to be a ladybug. And then this poodle is like super dirty. The grime on the poodle is gonna need to be washed off with like soap and water, and then these spots, again, are gonna need acetone, and I'm gonna have to remove all of the face and everything. So we're going to clean these all up, soap them up, and also do some extra prep work. So I actually trimmed off the letters on the side. The ladybug had a little letters that said China. You can see me remove the N there. And I trimmed it off and I sanded it. The poodle actually had the word Hasbro, the little copyright mark, and the word China. I figured that since I was customizing these anyways, I just didn't want those words in the way. I think later pets, like the pets that they release nowadays, or at least they put them on like the bottom or somewhere that's like way less obtrusive. So in all the videos I've seen of people remove faces with acetone, it's been a lot neater than what I did here. And it was just a lot harder than I expected to get all of the little things out. With the ladybug, I actually ended up leaving a little bit of paint in those cracks to see like whether or not I could paint over it, hopefully. It did kind of end up making the primer a little grainy. I don't think you can really notice it in the final product, but I probably should have gone a little harder, as it were, or like worked a little harder to remove all that. And now we prime, and for some reason, well, I know why, but I also don't really understand my thought process, but it just felt a little bit much to paint white over all of her black body, so I added a little bit of black paint to my gesso. I shouldn't have done this. I don't know. Like I said, I know why I did it, but it was just kind of silly of me because I ended up painting lighter colors over the gray earlier, but I basically was thinking, oh, I'm just going to paint dark colors on this again. I don't need it to be white. Plus, like, I know that the traditional thought is that you need less layers of dark things, but that's not always the case if you're painting like with really watered down paints. Especially with acrylics where like you can layer light on dark. At the end of the day, it's fine. It does make it look kind of cute when it's gray, because it's more similar to how it's going to look in the end. And the rest of the ladybug, I went with sort of a really dark, it's almost black, it turns out in the end. It was supposed to be like a dark indigo-y purple, but yeah, it turned out kind of black eventually. Also, it took me a really long time to figure out how to stop her head from bobbling. So as I paint this ladybug, I thought I'd tell you a little bit more about my Littlest pet shop and my history with them while I'm just painting along. So, like I said, I didn't paint on these. That was my little sister. It's not like she did it like without my permission. I mean, I guess she probably didn't ask. She's 11 years younger than me, so I gave her a lot of my toys. All my siblings got like a lot of my toys because they're much younger than me. And since she's older, I took the Littlest pet shop back. They're nostalgic. I have space to hold on to them, so it's fine. And like, I did, the alternative is them getting donated or something, so I wanted to keep them. When my sister was little, I think she really liked Littlest Pet Shop customizing videos on YouTube. And so she was like, you know, with her friends trying to customize these with nail polish. I did try and ask her if she remembered what her artistic vision is, but she didn't have an answer for me. And it's funny, here's a little bit of history for you. The reason why I wasn't into Littlest Pet Shop customizing, I mean, other than the fact that, like, I was not a kid who painted on stuff at all. Like, my dolls were very pristine when I was a kid. But also, like, when I was a kid, YouTube wasn't really a thing. YouTube started in 2005, which is also the release year of the Littlest Pet Shop relaunch that Hasbro did, because Littlest Pet Shop was originally launched in the 1990s. Obviously, YouTube got pretty big really fast, but, like, it wasn't a thing that, like, that many kids were watching or anything. And once I started watching it, it was, like, the place that you go to watch all the Disney movies, because this was back before YouTube cared about copyright, and, like, reruns of cartoons. And also there was, like, other kid stuff to do on the internet, like Club Penguin and Neopets. So yeah, I wasn't watching Littlest Pet Shop videos when I was a kid. Not part of my childhood. But I did have a lot of Littlest Pet Shop regardless. As soon as I saw them in stores, I loved them. I lost a lot of my toys in an eviction when I was a kid. My Bratz dolls, my Build-A-Bear, my American Girl doll. So having the Littlest Pet Shop still is, like, kind of meaningful to me. There's, like, a lot of toys that I lost, and I still have these ones. I would play with them with one of my friends all the time, and I have some duplicate pets because she had the same pet as I did, and they have little markings on their foot to show that they were hers. Obviously, I still have them, so they never made it their way back to her. So, as for this Ladybug, I actually don't really remember the Ladybug when I was a kid. I did look up the set for this video to figure out where she's from. She's Ladybug 221, which is their first release of a Ladybug mold, like, pet. And she came with a set called the Picnic Time Pets in 2007. So she's a little bit younger than the other pet. She's only, like 13 years old or something. This was one of the later sets that I got, and once I saw it, I remembered exactly why. That I didn't remember her is because it had this little brown dog, and I was obsessed with this little brown dog. I think that, like, the Ladybug and the bunny that came with the set were just, like, totally overshadowed by the dog, because I remember loving that dog. I don't know where that dog is. I didn't get it back when I collected my stuff. A lot of my Littlest Pet Shops were missing from my mom's house, so I actually only have, like, a handful compared to how many I had in the past. So, as for the design, I've just kind of let the me in the past paint and not talked about the design very much. But my inspiration for the design was thinking about how I wanted to turn that, like, cherry red into a more, like, orangey color, because you see, you know, Ladybugs come in a lot of different colors, from, like, reds to oranges to yellows almost. I mean, not almost, they literally do come in yellow. And I was thinking of that, and I was thinking it would be cool to do it as, like, a sun. So it's supposed to be the sun, her little shell, and then I wanted to make her sort of sky themed. So that's why I painted her face pink to purple to blue, and they're all, like, pastels because she's supposed to be like a little sunset. I didn't go in with this with a plan, which is really unusual for me. I usually, like, have a really detailed sketch of everything I'm gonna do in my videos, or just, like, in general. But I told myself, like, I should just go into it. I have an idea, I'm gonna try it. I will say it doesn't match as well as I wanted it to, but I'm, like, very much a person who often tries to go for, like, monochromatic themes, and, like, this was a fun variation, like, a fun, you know, there's a lot of different stuff going on, which, like, sort of makes it look bad, but I don't know, I think she's really cute. I don't know, I have mixed feelings on it, because, like, normally I would make this as sort of matchy as possible, but I kind of, like, leaned away from that. Oh, I wanted to say for the record, The whites under her eyes, it really bothers me that all the Littlest Pet Shop bugs have whites in their eyes, like human eyes. So in my heart, the black parts of her eyes, like the black and blue, this like shiny part, that's her eyes, and then the white is just white markings. That's what I believe. You can believe that she has human eyes, but I believe that she has beautiful sparkly bug eyes, and that the white parts are just markings, because it helps my sanity. I'm sorry. The gradient to paint on her eyes was really fun. Obviously, that's the night sky, and then the shell's like the sun, and her face is the sunset. I don't know, there's a lot going on. I was gonna add sparkles to her whole body, but I was like, no, that'd be too much. It's just a black, dark night sky. Project preview time. This is the part of the video where I discuss my next project, or my next project, or my next project, or projects that I am not planning on making into a video anytime soon. I don't know. It's like quickly snowballing. Last video I mentioned I was playing with resin and I was going to make a video on it, which is true, I did do that, but what I failed to do was create something that was really worth an entire video, so I am actually throwing some of the clips here to show you what I did, but honestly, I kind of used up all my silicone molding materials, and my molds didn't turn out very good, so that's why I pivoted to the Littlest Pet Shop repaint. I still am going to do the big bunny doll, although next month's Halloween, so we'll see. The bunny is just a lot of sanding right now, so I'm kind of doing everything. On one hand, I could quit doing these project previews because I'm like digging myself into an ever deep hole of unfinished projects and to-dos. But I do like sharing my projects regardless, and I could make some argument it's supposed to be to keep people interested in subscribing, but that would be a lie because it's not for you, it's for me. I just like talking about stuff I do, that's why I have this YouTube channel. That's why I make these videos. So maybe it'll help hold me accountable. Also, consider donating to my Ko-fi if you'd like. Back to the video. Oh, and like and subscribe. Back to the video. Anyways, on to the poodle. So for this little poodle, I will admit it kind of pained me to paint her because although I don't remember the ladybug, the poodle was one that I played with a lot. It's probably like the top 5 Littlest Pet Shop of my childhood. I wasn't like a big fan of pink as a kid, but I still did like her a lot. And she came in with a set that was like with the bunny that was at the beginning of this video. So it's cool that I still have them together. The poodle had some issues beyond just the paint splotches. Like the marker, I really didn't want to take her eyes off. I kind of wanted to leave her with original eyes, but there was too much marker all over her face. It was too stained. So I was like really careful. I learned a lot from the Ladybug on how to be careful, and I didn't want to smudge that like paint all around. I don't know why, because I paint over it later anyways. But I was very cautious. After you put acetone all over your Littlest Pet Shop, I started using a brush because it was very hard to get on all those cracks. But I gave her a little bath, and in the bath, her little head popped off, and this little spring was in there, which was all messed up. I hadn't really been paying attention, but like she doesn't bobble at all. Or she wasn't bobbling at all. She still doesn't bobble. I didn't fix the spring. I just took it out and then cleaned the inside of her head. I hadn't been planning to take these apart at all. But I don't know, it just kind of happened. So I did clean out the inside of her head. So as I prime her, let me tell you about some inspiration for her design. While I was painting the Ladybug, which yes, I did completely do before this one, I wanted to try out another gradient like the Ladybug's face, but do it a little better. And I had been watching Mariah Elizabeth, who is, you probably know her, but she's a really popular YouTuber who does a lot of rainbows and a lot of gradients and a lot of painting on little animals, and also really likes strawberry animals just like I do. So what a coincidence. I actually only found her like this last year. Yes, inspired by her, I wanted to do like a full pastel rainbow gradient, ideally. And try out some sort of new technique to turn out a little bit better than Ladybug. Now, this video ends up getting a little ugly with this little tray that says holiday on it, but that's because the poodle kept falling over. Now, this is an early Littlest pet shop, so it has a little magnet in its foot. So I just used that metal tray to snap it down. It was pretty helpful. I managed to tilt the tray over so it could dry upside down at stages. Specifically the stages where I had to paint her on the neck, because like I said, she's not a bobblehead anymore, and I didn't realize it, but that means that it was very hard to paint her neck because her head was sitting on it and they would get stuck together and stuff like that. So as you can see, here I am mixing all of the paints, which I included this entire montage because I forgot to film the most important part, which is me starting the gradient on the head. I turned the camera on and thought that I was filming, and I was like, I'm doing such a good job, and then I looked at the camera and I was like, I'm not filming. It's so upsetting. So this method that I'm using is a little more kind of inspired by the Mariah Elizabeth videos where she does a lot of dry brushing. Normally I do gradients and stuff like that with a lot of like watery paints, and I also use pretty watery paint when I paint on like little stuff like this, because the more like watery with like multiple layers it's good for making like a smooth surface. The problem with dry brushing is that you might get like little streaks. Now my paintbrush wasn't that dry. It was more like I was like adding paint and then like blending it with the drier part of the brush, but it was still like, it's still a little bit more streaky than like the method where you use really watered down paint, I think. On a small scale, this is also riskier because of the visibility of the lines and like the graininess and stuff. And I guess the best solution is to just go in multiple directions so you can kind of even out the texture. So it's just, it's complicated. I don't know, it feels like a lot of work. In my mind, this poodle is like the same character from before. That's why I wanted to leave her eyes the same and just give her a makeup. And in this case, I'm gonna try and keep her eyes like similar to the original, although not completely the same. I was very tempted to make like a dark chocolate or a black poodle because they don't really have any like very dark poodles in the Littlest Pet Shop catalog. And I actually associate poodles with the color black because I had this book when I was a kid called The Green Poodles, which is not actually about poodles that are green, but it's a family that's called the Green family who own poodles. And some of those poodles are black. So I always think of poodles as little black poodles. But anyways, since I wanted her to stay the same character, I tried to go for a beige, similar to the body. Honestly, it turned out more yellow than beige, but that's alright. It's just like, it's brightened it up. It definitely looks a lot like cleaner than before, because it is literally cleaner than before. It was so dirty and gross. I did have to fix like this little crack in the tail. Put some glue there. And then I added some gradient to the nose and muzzle just to add some like interest. I almost added blush to the cheeks, but I was like, no, I feel like the nose is enough, like the muzzle area. Although it does kind of look like she's just been eating Cheetos. But that's okay, I guess. I feel like now that I've told you that, you're just gonna think about it. You're gonna be like, she really loves Cheetos, I guess. The eyes, sticking with the blue. Not the same style as the Littlest Pet Shop eyes. I wasn't about to do that. I don't dislike the Littlest Pet Shop eye style, but I don't love it. It's not like the hugest fan of it. I wanted to do something a little more interesting. Not as like weird as the Ladybug's eyes, but you know, basically they're blue. But they obviously have like a nicer gradient. I didn't paint the whites on until the end because doing a gradient on a tiny area like that for the blues of the eyes, I just knew that I would just go outside the lines and I'd have to layer up the white anyways. So instead I just used the white at the very end to clean up surrounding the blue. Which again, like white paint, you can make it pretty opaque because it's acrylic, so it was no problem to use it to just clean up everything. I also used the black in like a similar way on top of the blue, and then that way I could focus the gradient like and just make the gradient on one surface. It's much easier to make a gradient in like one area and then surround that by solid colors, if that makes sense. It was really hard to do the one paw that's near the chest because there's like two gradients that you can see interacting right next to each other. But they're not supposed to be parts of the same fur, so they're like different gradients. I don't know. It's annoying. I did just go for 2 eyelashes because I was afraid to do any more because it was too hard. It was too hard to do them. And both the Ladybug and the Poodle got matte paint over everywhere except glossy paint on the eyes. Obviously the Ladybug, like I said, also had glossy paint on its shell. Carapace. Shell? Wings? Something. Ta-da! Here is the reveal of both of the Littlest Pet Shop. I also made them some accessories, but the Ladybugs turned out much better than the doggies. So that's why she has hers on right now, and I'll show you the other one in a second. I think these both turned out really cute. I'm happy to have sort of breathed some new life into them, even if only one of them is a bobblehead now. And I love how shiny the Ladybug shell is. It's just really adorable. And I like that I kind of went outside of my comfort zone using saturated red and pink on the same Ladybug, which was just a choice for sure. Whereas the Poodle looks a lot more, I guess, cohesive. Here's the Poodle's little bow. I was hoping that her oversized bow would help balance her, but the bow's just not heavy enough. So I'll have to figure out something else, maybe make her like a little stand, or else she will continue falling. As you can see on this close-up of the Ladybug, there are some extra details, like the little dots on her cheeks. There's like the darkness between her wings. Oh, the feet aren't that great on the bottom. Although, on the front foot, you can see that little moon, and that's because, you know, she's the sky, she's got the sun, everything, and then she's just got this little flower. It's just supposed to, like, be similar to her shell, is all. And the Poodle, who you've already, you know, seen here and there, I did define, like, that little ridge above her brows. I defined it in the same color as her muzzle. Her little pom-pom tail was very hard to do because it's so small and I had to put all of the rainbow gradient on it all at once. But I did it. All of those tiny little rainbows. And I even painted little paw pads on her paws. In case you're wondering, they're pink. And yeah, I don't have a way to attach the bow yet, so we'll see if I can figure out something for the bow. I hope you enjoyed this video, watching me paint these little guys, and next video, hopefully I will have a few things done, rolling into motion. Next one probably won't be Littlest Pet Shop, but eventually I will do the other two, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, like, subscribe, have a nice day. Bye!